Well, happy Friday. Good morning. I hope you are well, wherever you are. It's a snowy morning here, but it's not too much snow. But cloud cover, so we couldn't see the lovely Geminids this morning, so I didn't get to have a little run with the meteor shower streaking all around, unfortunately. I know it's up there, but hopefully this will be cleared out of the way here by Sunday, when they're really supposed to get going. Getting like 1 or 2 per second. Pretty spectacular. Hope we can see it. But we're not working on meteors this morning. We're working on window tracery. So when we left off on Wednesday, we had this tracery pattern done, this perpendicular Gothic window tracery pattern for the west window of the tower. It's a very simple pattern, and it went together really quickly, which was quite pleasing on stream. And I said that today we would do the decorated window tracery pattern, a style called reticulated, and then maybe on Monday we'd move it into the game and see if we could get it working, kind of interactively rebuilding in the game. Well, turns out reticulated window tracery is not that hard to make. So, ta-da, here it is. Put this together really quickly yesterday, and here we go. So I knew it wasn't that difficult to make, which is why I kind of chose it. It's one of the simplest patterns from the 14th century in England and elsewhere a little bit. But it's a very pleasing pattern. It's basically just a bunch of overlapping and tangent circles. It was pretty interesting. The cusps, of course, are always the hard part, but we've got that figured out as well. So here we go. We have two different tracery patterns. This is 15th century. This is 14th century. So we've got a little bit of history implied. These are very clearly 15th and 14th century. These are what you would call diagnostic window patterns. So I've got them all built out. And I've got them split into fragments as well, because these windows are going to rebuild not polygon by polygon like we saw the landscape, and other big parts of the building will rebuild with that effect. These are going to be rebuilding as individual fragments, kind of popping into existence and moving into place. So if we take a look, we can see some of these fragments here. So we can see the tracery is broken into what would be its logical and sensible fragments. These would be the ones that you could possibly use to actually build this window in real life. So that's what we've done. It's a lot of different fragments and pieces, but hopefully it will be okay. It won't bog down the system too much. So now we need to get these over into the game and then set them all up so that the user can choose between them and can rebuild them. So because that's going to be part of this window is going to be the main part of the tutorial that introduces the rebuilding when you're given choice to rebuild kind of mechanics. So this is what we're going to do, and part of that we also need to kind of try to begin to associate the idea between finding architectural fragments, sort of identifiable, almost diagnostic pieces of architecture in the ruins, and if you collect those fragments, that they unlock more building options. So this is our architectural fragment that we're going to have the player find as well. So it's a piece of tracery. It's just a cusp, so it's very obviously window tracery, but exactly what the pattern of the window is can't be entirely told just from this cusp. And that's good. So it's ambiguous. It could go either dec or perp. I mean, even though it is just that cusp from there, you don't know how big the cusps are in the deck, and so this one could stand in for both. So that's what we have here. We have a whole object, which is the entire thing not broken into pieces, and then we have the fragmented group. We have a fragmented group just for the mullions. They're the same no matter what, and then we have fragmented groups just for the tracery patterns. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we should be able to get all of this working in the game. But to do that, I'm going to need to relearn this system, because it's been probably at least a year since I had to put any kind of fragmentation rebuilding model or interactivity into the game. So And we're going to have to get this appearing at the correct time, getting the tracery frag to appear and getting the window options to appear all at the right time. So there's quite a lot to do, and we may not get through it today because we've only got a little bit less than an hour. So let's get to it. So I've got the game all queued up here. Here we go. And I had just imported that model just before the stream began. So this has just the west tower whole objects isolated here. If we want, we can turn back on the medieval landscape. There it is, with all of its empty graves, and the landscape underneath will turn on eventually. Not quite sure why it's not turning on, but I don't know. But anyway, that's okay. For now, that's okay. It being Friday, I'm quite at the end of my strength for the week, so I apologize for the occasional break that might come, or the occasional incoherence. I'm just really exhausted, but I'm so excited to be at this point by the end of the week. That's pretty exciting. So let's go down into my models. And by the way, there was a silly thread that went around Twitter earlier this week that was talking about what kind of personality or user you were based on your Unity layout. And if you're like any kind of long-term user of Unity, you will have customized your layout and moved away from the default. This is the default, except for this little panel right down here. This is the default layer. It's always been good enough for me. I'm not a new Unity user. I've been using Unity since 2006, so I've been using Unity for 14 years, since version 1.6. This has been good enough for me. Now, there is one thing that's irritating, which is dragging objects from the hierarchy into script slots in the inspector, and I really probably should stick the hierarchy in a column next to the inspector, but I really like the balance on screen. I don't like this window being slammed all the way over to the side here. So I'm leaving it like this for now. But, I don't think your layout necessarily shows what kind of an expert you are. It was tongue-in-cheek anyway. But just in case you're bored by my default layout and think I have a lack of imagination, you may well be true. You may well have something there. Okay, so let's go grab our window tracery. There it is. This is everything all together, which is why we're getting a weird kind of model there. But let's set it up. Okay. Let's calculate our normals and make them angle weighted. And our angle is going to be 0 to get that faceted look, which at least triples the amount of verts in the model, but that's okay. We don't need UVs at all because we're not doing the kind of rebuild effect, the polygon by polygon rebuild effect, so that's nice as well. So I think that's all we need for that, so we can apply it. And there we go, we can see that the model becomes a little bit less squirrely, which is nice, and then we're going to auto-assign the material to our good old ASE vert collared box clip dither. Ta-da! And it's picking up on our vertex colors that are already in the model, so congratulations to us. The mesh looks like it's coming in very nicely. Okay, so what do we need to show at this time? I need to turn on the rubble for the ruins down here. So let's go do that. I think it's in the tower area group. Tower collapsed export. There it all is. There's our rubble pieces. Now, sitting inside the tower in the windowsill here is a special block. So if we go into the scene, let's turn this a little bit. Okay, and I might turn off that landscape, and I might turn off that rubble now, because it's providing too many wires in our wireframe here. Where is our medieval soil? There it is. Good. Okay. Still got quite a lot of... Oh, because that's the base pieces I turned off. Well, I can turn those off too. Let's turn off the tower collapsed export as well. Okay, now we're just left with the main shapes of the building we can see here. So inside the windowsill is this thing called special block tower tracery. I don't know why it's called one. It's because we have too many of them, but let's get rid of that. Okay, so this is our rebuilding bit of tracery here. I need to fit this a little bit better to the tower window. So let's reduce our size a little bit. Let's move to a more orthographic view. Ooh, that was lucky. Okay, now let's reduce our Y size a little bit. Okay, good enough. So, yeah, so this object right here that's sitting in the window of the tower is our, what do we want to say? This is what's called a building block. And it's the thing that will allow us to, what do we want to say? It will allow us, this is what allows us to rebuild the window tracery. So I need to load in a few more things. I need to get the actual window tracery in place. I'm a little bit worried because I think the window tracery's pivot is pointing the wrong direction, and they should be lined up on the pivots. So that's a problem we'll have to deal with. There's my window tracery. Yeah, those pivots are really not well aligned. So how can I rotate that pivot? I may have to go in and export it. Because if I stick this in here and then move it into place, you'll see what I mean. Yeah. So I need this pivot to be like that. So why I'm mumbling about all of this right now is that anything that you rebuild in this position, yeah, it's nice to see the tracery in place, although it's not looking great. We'll fix that. Any of the building options that you're given for a building thing, they all have to line up with this big area thing that you're supposed to, with your collider, they're supposed to line up with the pivot of that. And I've got my rotations out of place by 90 degrees. So I need my Z value. I need my X value pointing off to the left, and I need my Z value pointing straight out from the wall. So I've got to go back in and I've got to do a little re-import, which shouldn't be too big of a problem. Yeah, so I just need to reverse all of these. That'll be fun. All of these pivots are the same, so that's okay. So let's move around all of these, and let's rotate it 180 degrees. Nope, not that far. There we go. That's what we need. That should do the trick. Yep, all those pivots are aligned. This pivot doesn't matter on this individual fragment. It's just the big container objects. And they're all lined up correctly. So let's export this again. I'm going to export it twice, so bear with me. This is actually in the game. Good. So let's replace that one. and then I'm going to go export it to my kind of archive. There we go. Okay, so that should be exported now. It's going to do the re-import, and we shall see that our pivots should line up now. Oh, come on. You should line up. Be nice to me. Well, stupid pivots. Only that one is lining up now. Do I have a pivot adjust? I don't have my pivot adjust in this one. So, oh well. Let's get the animation part working first. Let's get the other parts working, and then I can go in and fix these pivots at some point. It's just frustrating. Whole thing's backwards. Oh well, we'll fix this one eventually. Oh well. We'll add a few things to this in a minute. Why is one of them bright white and the other not? Did it not get a... They all have the right... So just a little bit of visual troubleshooting. This always happens. Which object is it that's giving us the trouble? They're both white. Both of these whole objects are white. And the frags are white. Alright, well we can fix that. It's not that big a deal. They're not getting the lighting correctly, I guess. We'll fix all of that stuff eventually. I just want to see if I can figure out the system itself, because I have built this in before. I really have, honest. Okay, and where I built this in before is for the east window of the building. So, for the east window of the building, we have this exact same thing, special block. Let's pull this one out. So let's look for special block, and I'll be able to find that a lot quicker. Special, there we go. It's down in the whole big church object. Okay, so this is the one I even copied it from. So this is our kind of container object here. And we need to have a number of objects. There's kind of a cascade of objects here in the whole rebuilding system. I don't think that the project is in such a state that I can just press play and show you what I mean by a building system, but just if you can see, the very tops of these walls are a little bit lighter in color, and these are what's called building block objects, and when they're activated, a little particle system of kind of blue lines kind of comes up and fades into the distance here, and if you hover your mouse over any of these areas, then you get a ghosted kind of X-ray image of an object that can fit in that place. And if you can scroll through them, and when you choose one and you click, that object kind of materializes. It rebuilds itself from fragments, or materializes from individual polygons. We're replicating that, but we're putting it in the windowsill here. And I've already done that for a windowsill in the for the east end, for the east tracery of the building. So that's what we're doing. Okay. I think I have a solution on the rotation thing, but again, let's wait for a while for that. So what we need is a cascade of objects. We need a prototype object, which is just the whole mesh, but is rendered by the X-ray shader. And then that prototype object is linked to a fragmented object, I believe, which is all the individual pieces. And then when those individual pieces reconstruct themselves, they are linked to a whole object, which is the whole mesh that isn't split into pieces. And that gets swapped in so that I'm not having to render thousands of individual game objects. So it becomes a little bit more efficient. So we need a prototype object, or a proto, a whole object, and a fragmented object. So we've got our whole objects here, which will also stand in for which will also be our prototype objects. Well, we'll duplicate them, and then they'll be our prototypes. So, good old more GUI clips. You're pushing more than you're popping. And we've got some index errors in our importing system and blah, blah, blah. These are all Unity problems, but they never actually stop the show, so that's a good thing. Okay, so I need to begin to set this back up. So I need some proto objects. So let's go find our protos. East window tracery 3 proto and east window tracery 1 proto. So what's a proto object look like? They have the outline material. They have their GUID. I reference those eventually, I guess. And they have a whole object of behavior script as well as a prototype object behavior script. And they live they live in a holding pattern, which is in a holding object, which is 3,000 meters away. So it's totally off screen. In Untitled Goose Game, when people have kind of gotten into it and have kind of looked behind the scenes, and they find like all the objects the goose needs all just kind of stacked up in a little pile somewhere in the scene. This is my little pile as well. So you'll find that happens in games sometimes. You could be clever and stream them in when you need them, but also sometimes it's just easier to stick them somewhere in the scene where the user is not normally going to get. I stick them 3 kilometers away from our main scene. other people to stick them inside some other building that a player's never going to get into, and it's fun when they do, because it's fun to kind of literally see behind the scenes. Okay, my other objects are my whole objects. They have their layer changer and their vert color adjust script and all that fun stuff. I'm going to copy this because that's the color we need. Okay, and they've got a whole object behavior script, so that's all good. And a layer changer and a box collider. They've got all the fun stuff. Okay, and then the frags object, which always have tons of frags in them. The frags object has got a fragmented object behavior. And then each object in there has a mesh collider, which is probably way too expensive for what we need. I might stick box colliders on these. Vertex color, layer changer, all that fun stuff as well. But no GUIDs. Cool. Does the whole object have a GUID? It does. Okay. All right. So I would like to be able to duplicate these. I think we're going to probably run into a problem and we're going to have to unpack our prefab. And when we do that, when I fix the rotations, we're going to have problems again. Okay, let's go in here. I have a way to fix this. I think. Let's see if our window tracery goes into there. No, I don't have a way to fix this. Hang on. We're going to do one more export. Okay, so all of these are actually rotated 90 degrees, and they really shouldn't be. So, let's stick this as a child of this. We're going to rotate it so that it's more that direction. Okay. So let's see what happens with this. When objects get exported from Cinema, they get flipped 180 degrees. Let's see if this is good enough. They're all facing the way we want, which is X to the left, Y or Z pointing outward into the world. Okay, let's export this again and see what we get. So many folders to go through. This one really needs to be cleaned up. There it is. That's the one we want. Okay, let's see if we can get this rotation. Aha, there we go. Fixed. Okay. Except that our rotations are going to be backwards. I bet we'll still have trouble. Okay, well, anyway, we need these two whole objects. They need to be duplicated. Oh, crud. I didn't mean to do that. This will probably kill the whole thing. Yep. Foolish, foolish me. Okay, I'm going to try something here. It's a little... I'm going to move that to the wrong way. I'll show you why I'm doing that. Told you it's been a year since I did this. Okay. Let's go through and export it again. And then let's go back into Unity. Okay, so first of all, we've popped the artifact out. That's great. See, now these are lining up correctly. Ha 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 ha. Yes, you just have to think backwards because that's my kind of logic. They are all in the correct way. Okay, good. The reason why I decided that was important to do now is because I am probably going to break the prefab instancing, which means now when I re-import these objects, they're not going to get automatically, the changes aren't going to get automatically put in place, and I will start to lose any progress that we've made, but hopefully not now. Okay, so, because I want to duplicate these. Oh, it's going to let me do that. Fine. Okay. So this is going to be called proto. And this is Dec-proto. And it's too high poly again. I can't stop making window tracery high poly. I could probably have gotten rid of half the verts and come up with a much more pleasing low poly version, but oh well. It's about 1,500 polys for the whole window. It's not that many polys. I don't know. You're not going to see the detail in the game, but oh well. Okay, so we've got a proto object. So proto objects have, let's go look and see. Where's our special block? Starting over from the beginning here. Proto objects. All they've got is a GUID. They've got the outline material as their material, and they've got a whole object, so they've got a GUID, a whole object material, and a prototype object data, and they sit 3,000 meters away. Okay. So I think I'm going to move this entire window tracery to 3,000 meters away. And we'll move the rest to zeros. I don't know if the rotation matters at all. Okay, so let's frame them. There we go. So see, here's my collection of odds and ends. Told you. Okay, I'm not sure the fragmented objects might need to go live over there, but it's okay. We'll work on this one bit at a time. So the prototype object needs, first of all, they both need to have the outline material. This outline material is the one they both need. Okay. They both need a GUID component. Ta-da! They both need a whole object behavior component, and they both need a proto object component. Hurrah! Okay. So those are there. They don't start out as locked. They really should be locked because they get unlocked when you build, but we'll see. Okay, now we need to think about what these are. Okay. Okay, they need their mesh renderer, they have their fractured object that they're attached to. Do they have submodels? No, they don't. They're gonna get their... No, they don't have a parent GUID, so that's good. I don't know what the original bounds X means. They're gonna get their original GUID on their own. And are they a cloned object or not? I don't think so. Basically, the main thing I need to fill in is I need to fill in that they are... I just need to fill in what their fractured object is. And that's it. Okay, cool. Good, let's go do that. So the Dec proto's fractured object is they're going to have 2 fractured objects. Crud. The reason why I say crud is because I was being all efficient and trying to not duplicate the tracery lights down there. So we may have to fix that here in a minute. But we'll see. We'll just do one little bit at a time here. We've only got a few minutes left anyway. So my fractured object for the Dec trace is this. Okay. And they've got dates. Okay, so the Dec date is going to be... Ooh. Let's do something like this. 1300 to 1350. And their orientation is very much west. And the mesh renderer is this one. And that's it. That should be all we need for that one. The perp one is going to have the perp trace frags as its object, and its date is going to be really it's going to be 1400 to 1450. Well, no, it's end date. Who knows when this one's going to end? Let's go way far out. The Dec one's going to end far out as well. Yeah, I may have some of these wrong as I keep fiddling and experimenting, and maybe I'll be able to do that over the weekend, although you never know. Okay. All right, so those are set up. All right, now let's go see what the whole objects need. So the special block has its 2 block options. It's got all of this stuff here. So there's no initial occupying object, that's good. Oh yeah, because this is a building block, it's got all sorts of things put in it. It's got per period occupiers, it's got all sorts of interesting things in it. That does remind me I need to build a version of this before because this is a Norman wall. This is a 12th century wall with a younger window in it. So it means that we originally had one of these fancy windows in there. I need to build that version of the wall. Although it looks like maybe I have at one point. I don't know. Anyway, I need to get that built in at some point. All sorts of great things here. All alternate occupiers. Of course it would have alternate occupiers, I think. Wow, there's a bunch of stuff. That's pretty amazing. Okay. But right now, we just need to put the block options in, which are our protos. I need to come up with a way to streamline this whole process, but may not be possible. So let's go in here again. So this is just a copy of that. So we need to, I'm not sure, pull out the pre-populated. I don't know. Probably not. Its orientation is west. Its start date can be, sure, it can be 1330. Its end date can be 2500. That's fine. Has no auxiliary models, no auxiliary position IDs, but its two elements are the Dec proto and the perp proto. There we go. So that's okay. No initial occupying objects. That's really great. Let's keep this, and instead we're going to go to this whole object and this whole object are going to be our two per period occupiers. We might as well do that. We actually probably need more. Well, not in this one because it's just the window tracery. It's got my effects. Sure, it can have dummy quads. Not quite sure what we're going to do with that alternate occupiers. This is kind of an advanced feature. Okay, but the rest of that's been set up. Nice. Okay. So the proto objects are going to the frag objects. The frag objects, we need to set up our whole objects now. So what is tracery 3 whole? It's got the shaders, the one we already have on it. They've got a GUID, a vert color adjust, the layer changer, the whole object behavior. Okay. So GUID, vert color adjusts, layer changers, whole object behaviors, all of that. Okay. Let's go back up here. They get a GUID. They get a vert color adjust. They're already the right, well, let's find out. Okay. Let's allow that. Okay, that's good. And they get a layer changer. They don't have any children, so we don't need to worry about that. And then they get the main business, which is the whole object behavior. And my fractured objects. Okay, so the Dec one gets the Dec trace frags. The perp one gets the perp trace frags. Yeah, this is just going to build the heads in the window, so we'll have to fix this in a minute. But I think I can do this because I haven't lost my prefab instances yet. Okay, so they get dates. Again, 1300, 2300, 1400, 2300. Okay. Their orientation is most certainly west. Their mesh renderer is their mesh renderer. And I think that's all we need for that one. Whole object gets a 1400 to 2300 because I'm lazy on my dates here, and they are very much, oriented west, and they just need to get their mesh renderer. Okay, that's that. All right. Now we need to do the frags. This is going to be a little bit harder. Oh yeah, these need colliders as well. So physics box colliders, and their box colliders need to be set to triggers. Great. Okay, now frags. How are the frags? They just need the fragmented object behavior script. And all of the fragments go in there. Okay. And I think that gets populated automatically. I think it just goes and does that. I gotta look and see what like all these little flags mean now. I've got to look in the code because they all are meant to take into account all the little kind of special situations I've got. One off, is it shader based? I know what that one means. All of this kind of stuff, the fragmented material, frag dates, orientation. Of course, the orientation doesn't really matter in this one. Is it a group, meaning does it have several objects to work with? And that is true, actually. So if we go find a group object, a proper group one, which will be the Norman windows. Let's see if we can find it. That'll be in the tower, I think. So see, this one is a group. Yep. And has a bunch of little sub-objects underneath it. So that might be a way for us to get our tracery to build. Okay. So we'll have to look at that. So if I take my main light frags and I duplicate them, let's wait to do that for a minute. Okay. Okay, so this is that big deal of fragmented object behavior. That's the big deal we have here. These all get vert color adjusts and mesh colliders and the layer changer script. Okay, let's work from the smallest to the largest here. They need to be mesh colliders, and these need to be convex and triggers. And they need to have the layer changer script. And they need vert color adjust. Yep, and they're not multicolored. Let's edit in editor, paste in that color. There we go. change that. Okay, so all of those are set up. To do the same for this. So they need a mesh collider. They need the layer changer. They need the color adjust script. Edit in editor, change the color. That should fix it. Fingers crossed. Going to do the same here. Mesh collider, layer changer. There we go. Okay, hopefully that changed all of those to what we need. Okay, now we're going to add our fragmented object behavior to this. Frag dates on this, who knows? We won't put that in just yet. This is not a group. Its vertex color is this. That's from a very old legacy thing. Random inst, none of that. It's not pre-populated yet. We're going to need to run the pre-populator on this. What else did I do? I gave this a date. And they need their material. And they need their animation time. Is that the only thing? The date. Date, time, material. And that material may actually get pre-populated as well. I'm not entirely sure, but it probably won't hurt for me to just stick that in. Okay. That's the material. Animation time is set. And our date for this one we'll say is 1300. It's a little early. Okay. So now I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to make, well, this is where we are going to lose our prefab. Ooh, no we haven't. Well, that's good. Oh, we can't restructure the prefab. Well, let's not do that. Let's just duplicate it again. And then we'll turn this guy off. And there, we don't care. So that's Dec. So 1300 is the right time for that. But this needs to be 1400. Okay, we're getting there. And now, this needs another fragmented object behavior. 1400s, date. Paste that color in. This is a group. I'm just going to see how I set up a group. My whole object behavior. Got all that. Set all of that up. Okay. So we need to identify what its whole object is. Its whole object is this guy. Perp whole. What else do we need to add to this? I think we're done with that. So we're going to do the same up here. The frag dates here is 1300. Its material is that one. Its color is that one. Its whole object is the Dec whole. Okay, that should be the kind of looping crazy logic. Okay, that should do it. I really don't think we're gonna get into doing this. This is not, well, anyway, we'll see what happens when we press play. What might happen, what would be kind of nice just for testing purposes if this happened when we pressed play, is that that little thing that just lit up there, it'd be really nice if that turned on right away when we press play and created these little things going up and down, and as we moused over them we would get to see our options and then we could click and build, but I really don't think that's going to happen. So, but you never know. So let's find out, and then that'll be the end of our session today. But really getting this in and kind of jogging my memory on how all these get set up was the most important bit. So let's see what happens. I think sheer chaos is going to happen because, like, I've got the landscape turned off, all that kind of thing. Yeah, sheer chaos happened because we are missing all sorts of objects. Nice floor though. All right. Let's turn on this and this. And let's see. Oh yeah, and we're going to turn on the medieval dirt, or the medieval topsoil. There we go. All right, now what happens if we press play? Still probably going to get a bunch of errors here. It's the problem with such a long and slow development, is that I kind of forget my systems. Yeah, we've got a null reference already. So what's our null ref? Just on this one though. Fragmented object behavior, line 180. What is my null reference? And why is it only on the perp and not the Dec? Maybe it didn't get that far. Let's find out. Just so we have kind of a pointer in our minds as to where we're going to troubleshoot this. Line 180, child frag behaviors. So if this is a group, my fragmented object behavior ID equals that, great. And then for each child in transform, it needs to grab the fragmented object behavior, and there wasn't anything. that's what the problem is. Okay. So what's happened is that I need to create a parent game object that holds both the tracery fragments and the kind of uprights the mullions fragments. I need to do this for both of them, and then that needs to have the tracery fragmented object behavior thing on it. So let's do that. So let's create an empty child. Pull that child out, so it's just got the same transform. Fine. We're going to create our empty. We're going to move it into here. I bet I won't be able to change this though. Yeah, it hates that. So at this point I need to unpack this, but I think that's okay. So let's unpack this prefab. Okay, now we can do whatever we like. Okay, come on. And we'll have to fix that everywhere else. Tower, win, perp, trace, frags, group. We're going to take both of these, stick them in here. I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to copy it and apply it to this one. And then I'm going to turn off the is group on this one so it doesn't get confused. Yep. And I'm going to clear out the whole object behaviors. Come on. There we go. That's what we need. Alright, that should have sorted out that problem. And then I need for my proto its fractured object is that. And oh whoops, I'm on the perp. Fractured object is that. And the whole its fractured object is that. Okay, that should fix that. Let's add another one here. Create an empty child. Come on, up we get. Grab this one out of here too. Let's copy this. It has no whole object because that's the job of its parent. Dec, trace, needs to have that object pasted as new. It is a group. That's set up correctly now. Yeah. Okay, good. And then needs to have that one, and the proto needs to have this, and that should be all my references changed and tidied up now. Okay, we're quite late today. I'm just gonna run it again just to see what errors we get, and then we'll call it a day. And on Monday, maybe we can work on getting this whole rebuilding sequence put more into the flow of the gameplay as well. Okay, see, so it hasn't. Right, so if we hover over this, there goes our topsoil, that vanishes, which is nice. And then the idea is that once the user rebuilds this one, they should be able to get the little thing that indicates, yes, indeed, you have more to rebuild, and they should be able to hover over this and see the tracery, all that kind of fun stuff. So we're not quite there. Actually, when they rebuild this, they should see the artifact, the arc frag of tracery laying here, and they should be able to click on it. That introduces the whole concept. Let's see, we have this building concept here, and then we would get a rebuild effect, something like that, but with window tracery. So we need still to do a little bit of work and get this filled out, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I don't have any errors, at least. So now I've just got to figure out how I get this to turn on when I need it to turn on. All right, that's where we're going to have to leave it for today. So on Monday, we're going to keep working on that and bringing it all together. And it's exciting because we're actually working on the kind of narrative section of the game now. Not the narrative, but the actual kind of step-by-step playthrough of this part of the game. So that's pretty exciting. I hope you have a great weekend. And thank you very much for letting me drone on in your ear like this. And always get in touch if you want to say hello, or if you have questions, or if you have suggestions. I am all ears. I'm delighted to hear from you. You can hit me up on Twitter. And have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday. Bye, everybody.